Hi there, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to talk about critical path, what it is, why is it important, and how you can identify critical path in Microsoft project. So let's get started. I'm Nick and you are on Nick's Projects channel. All right, so first look into what is a critical task. If you have a project or if you're managing a project, there could be thousands or plus lines in the project plan, and during the project execution or in a status call, somebody may ask if something gets delayed, whether the task is in critical path or not. So let's look at a real-time example. Let's say you're managing a construction project. It could run for, let's say, 2 to 3 years to complete the construction, and let's say you're waiting for concrete to come in and pour concrete for the base floor, and you are expecting 5 days delay. So when that information is presented to the stakeholders or whoever is in the meeting, someone could ask whether that impacts the overall project, or in a big scheme of things it doesn't matter. For example, if the project is going to run for 2 years, whether 5 day delay in pouring the concrete today, will it impact the overall timeline, or is it just an interim step? So that's where critical path comes in. So if that task, pouring concrete, if that is a critical task, meaning if the pouring of concrete is delayed, then if it impacts the final end date delivery of the project, then yes, it is in critical path. So any task that could directly impact the final delivery of the project, those are critical tasks. So when somebody asks whether that task is critical task or not, how can you quickly look at and tell whether it is critical or not? So the easiest way to do that is in Microsoft Project. There are 4 ways to look at it. So let's jump into Microsoft Project. Let's say you have a construction project to build a 10-tower building, and you have base floor, first 5 floors, last 5 floors. All right, in the base floor is when you're gonna insert new task, and let's call it as pour concrete, and let's say build wall, build ceiling, and these three can fall under the base, and all of this will fall under the main project 10-tower building. So it's a 10-floor building that we are doing. So let's say pouring concrete can take 20 days, including receiving the concrete. Building a wall can take 30 days. Building ceiling can take 5 days. Building the first 5 floor could take another 50 days. Last also, let's say 50 days. And let's say all of these are linked, meaning each one has to be executed sequentially. So if you go to task and click on the link, now the predecessor is set. So before we can build the wall, the pouring of concrete has to be done. Let's say we are here inserting another task calling install doors and windows. Let's say this take 10 days. And this can happen in parallel with building the ceiling. So once the walls are set up, then you can have these two tasks run in parallel. So the predecessor for installing the doors and the windows is also going to be building the wall, which is number 4. All right. So now if somebody asks me whether if the pouring of concrete is delayed, is that a critical task or not? So how do I know? So the first thing is you can come on to the view tab, and then under the highlight, just click here and select critical. So anything that is highlighted here are critical tasks, meaning if any of those tasks get delayed, the end date of the project will also get delayed. So in this example, yeah, if it gets delayed from 20 to 25 days, notice how the finish date changes. Okay, so if I change it to 25, now it changes to 9/23. So obviously it's a critical task, so that changed. All right, so now let's look at the next way how you can see critical tasks. So if I go back to no highlight, you can use the filter and select critical. So what that does is it filters out, doesn't highlight anything, but it filters out to show you only critical task. I don't like this option because we lose perspective. So if it was 1,000 line project, then obviously by filtering only the critical task, you wouldn't know what's ahead and behind each of these tasks. So for that reason, I don't really like it, but that's a quick way. If somebody asks you in a meeting whether the delay in pouring concrete, would that impact the project or not, you can quickly filter it, and if it shows up in this filter, that means yeah, it can impact the project. Now go back to not filter. Now the other way is, if you look at the Gantt chart here, which is on the right side, if I go to tracking Gantt, if I come back here, you see anything that is in the red. So for example, you see a blue line here, which is this installing doors and windows. So if you look at the critical task here, by highlighting it, it is not a critical task. That's why it's in blue. So another way to look at is looking at the Gantt chart in the tracking Gantt view. And if it is a red line, that means that task is a critical task. Again, that's more graphical way of seeing the same information, but the easiest for me is always to come here and do the highlight. But this is another way. And there is one other last way. If I go back to the Gantt chart view, and if you go to the report and create a new report, more reports in progress, and click on critical task. So when you do that, it builds out a report that lists out all the critical tasks in the project with the start, finish, percentage completion, and the remaining work. So this is a built-in report available in MS Project. So if you want to look at that way, that's also an option. So there you have it. You have 4 different ways to identify critical task in the project. And if somebody asks you in the meeting whether that task is a critical task or not, you can use one of these options and tell them quickly whether it is critical or not. And remember, if it is a critical task and if it gets delayed, then obviously it's going to have an impact on the end timeline, and the project duration could be impacted because the task that you're working on is a critical task. So I hope this video helped you in some ways to play with what is critical task and how to identify that in Microsoft Project. If you did, give it a like, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for more project management related videos. Again, I'm Nick and you're on Nick's Projects channel. If you like this kind of teaching tutorials, then you might find my course very informative and useful. You can check that out on nixprojectsacademy.com, where I have a masterclass for project management where I cover in depth everything about project management, including the concept and the tools. So you would definitely enjoy it. You can check it out. I'll put the link in the description below, and I'll also pin it on the comment. All right, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.